A waitress found an injured boy in an alley, holding a ring with a number carved inside. She called it without thinking. What she didn't know was that the voice on the other end belonged to a vampire king. And the boy she saved was his only son. The rain poured down hard, turning the broken road into a reflection of neon signs and streetlights. Mara pulled her thin jacket tighter, angry at herself for taking the alley shortcut. Her feet hurt from working 2 shifts, and her pockets held exactly $32 in tips, not nearly enough to pay this month's rent. The alley smelled like wet cardboard and something metallic she didn't want to think about. She was halfway through when she saw him. A boy, maybe 10 years old, collapsed against the brick wall like a thrown-away doll. "Hey." Mara's voice bounced off the walls. She rushed forward, forgetting how tired she was. "Kid, are you okay?" The boy didn't move. As she got closer, her breath stopped. His clothes were strange, a velvet vest with real silver buttons, pants that looked handmade, like something from a history show. But the fabric was soaked, sticking to his small body. Mara dropped to her knees beside him, not caring about the puddles, soaking through her jeans. "Can you hear me?" She pressed 2 fingers against his neck, looking for a pulse. Nothing. Her heart pounded as she tried his wrist instead. Still nothing. But he was warm, too warm for someone lying in the rain. And his skin was impossibly pale, almost see-through in the dim light. Come on," she whispered, tilting his head back to check his airway. That's when she noticed his hand. Small fingers clenched tight around something. She gently opened them. A ring. Heavy gold with a detailed design carved on top. A crown stabbed through with thorns surrounding a single drop of what might have been a ruby. The detail was amazing, the kind of work you'd see in a museum. She turned it over, and her heart stopped. Numbers were carved inside the band. A phone number. Mara stared at the unconscious boy, then at the ring, then back at the boy. Every feeling screamed that this was wrong. Wrong clothes, wrong situation, wrong everything. She should call 911. That's what normal people did. But something about the ring felt planned, like it was meant to be found. Her phone was already in her hand. Before she could second-guess herself, she dialed. 1 ring. 2 rings. "Speak." The voice that answered wasn't a greeting. It was a command. Deep, smooth, with an accent she couldn't place. British? Eastern European? It made the hair on her arms stand up. Mara's voice cracked. She cleared her throat. "I found a boy. He's unconscious in an alley on 5th Street near the old theater. He has no pulse, but he's warm, and he's holding this ring with this number." "Describe him." The voice cut through her words like a knife. Maybe 10 years old, really pale, dark hair, wearing weird fancy clothes. "What color are his eyes?" "I don't know. They're closed. He's unconscious." "Open them." The command in that voice left no room for arguing. Mara's hands shook as she gently lifted one of the boy's eyelids. She gasped. His iris was the color of amber, but inside it, tiny flecks of gold seemed to move like embers in a dying fire. "Gold," she whispered, "with gold flecks that move." The silence on the other end stretched so long she thought the call had dropped. "Your name?" It wasn't a question.
Mara.
Mara Chun. "Look, this kid needs a hospital. Stay exactly where you are. Do not let anyone approach him. Do not call anyone else. We are coming." "Wait, who are?" The line went dead. Mara stared at her phone, her mind racing. "We? Who was we?" Should she call the police anyway? But something in that voice had been absolutely certain, almost desperate, though it was wrapped in steel. She looked down at the boy. He seemed even paler now, if that was possible. Without thinking, she took off her jacket and laid it over him, then sat back against the wall beside him, keeping watch. 3 minutes passed. Then she heard them. No sirens, no screeching tires, just the whisper-quiet sound of expensive engines. 2 black cars slid into the alley, sleek and dangerous-looking. They shouldn't have fit. The alley was too narrow, but they moved with impossible exactness, stopping just feet from where she sat. The doors opened at the same time. The people who got out wore long coats that gleamed like oil in the rain. 5 of them, moving with a grace that made Mara's dancer friends look clumsy. They wore no uniforms, but something about the way they moved screamed military. The tallest one came toward her first. In the shadows of his hood, she saw sharp cheekbones and eyes that reflected the light wrong. Too bright, like a cat's. "You called the king," he said, his voice respectful but careful as he knelt beside the boy. His hands moved over the child quickly and skillfully, checking for signs of life, looking at the ring still held in Mara's palm. "Step back, please. Is he going to be okay?" Mara didn't move. "What's wrong with him?" The man's head snapped toward her, and for just a second, she saw his eyes clearly. They were silver, actual metallic silver. "You found Prince Adrian alive. That's all that matters." He gestured, and 2 others moved forward with a stretcher that looked more like a medical bed, all padding and straps. "But you've contacted the king directly. He will want to speak with you." "Prince." The word came out as a squeak. "Prince of what?" The man stood, and Mara suddenly realized how tall he was, over 6.5 feet easily. "That's not my question to answer. But you saved the heir's life tonight." His silver eyes studied her carefully. "Whether that's a blessing or a curse for you remains to be seen." They lifted the boy, Adrian, with amazing gentleness, securing him in the pod. One of them pulled out a tablet, taking quick photos of the exact spot where he'd been lying, the wall, the puddles, everything. "Wait," Mara called as they began moving back toward the cars. "That's it? You're just taking him? What about his parents? What about—" The tall man paused at the car door, turning back to her. In the light from inside the vehicle, she could see his face clearly now, beautiful and scary at once, too perfect to be human. "Miss Chun, go home. Lock your doors. Someone will contact you within 24 hours. He paused, and something almost like sympathy crossed his face. "And for what it's worth, thank you. Adrian is precious to many. You did a brave thing tonight." Then they were gone, the cars sliding back out of the alley as silently as they'd arrived, leaving Mara alone in the rain with her soaked jacket and $32 in tips, and the absolute certainty that her life would never be the same.
Mara didn't sleep.
She sat on her lumpy couch, staring at her phone, waiting for it to ring. Her wet clothes had left a damp spot on the cushions, but she couldn't make herself care. Prince Adrian. The name rolled around in her mind like a marble in an empty jar. Prince of what? And those eyes, silver eyes that reflected light like animal eyes. The way they'd moved, silent and together. She Googled Prince Adrian 17 times. Nothing matched. No missing child reports. No royal families with that name. At 4:47 a.m., someone knocked on her door. 3 careful knocks. Not the pounding of police or the shy tap of a neighbor, something in between. Mara's hand trembled as she looked through the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway, impossibly beautiful, wearing a neat black suit. Her skin was dark and flawless, and her eyes, even through the distorted glass, seemed to glow faintly. "Miss Chun, we spoke on the phone. I'm here to take you somewhere." Mara hadn't opened the door. The woman shouldn't have known she was looking. "Take me where?" Mara's voice cracked. "The king wishes to speak with you about Adrian." A pause.
"Please."
"The boy is asking for you." That did it. Mara opened the door. The woman's smile was polite, but showed nothing. "Bring nothing. You'll return before dawn." The car ride took 40 minutes, winding through parts of the city Mara barely recognized. They stopped at the old Cathedral of Saints, the one that had been getting fixed for the past 10 years. The woman led her around the back to a service entrance that looked rusted shut. It opened at her touch. The stairs going down seemed endless. Emergency lights flickered every so often, making everything look sickly yellow. Mara counted 73 steps before they reached a door made of something that looked like black marble. The woman placed her palm against it. The door swung inward silently. Mara's breath caught. The room beyond was huge, with ceilings that disappeared into darkness. Chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls of crystal, throwing cold white light across furniture that belonged in a palace. Tapestries older than the city itself lined the walls. And everywhere, People in fancy clothes watched her with eyes that caught the light wrong. This way. They walked through a line of stairs. Mara heard whispers in languages she didn't recognize. Her sneakers squeaked on the polished floor. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a man in a chair that wasn't quite a throne but commanded the same respect.
Lucian.
She knew it was him instantly. The voice on the phone made real. He was tall even sitting down, with dark hair pulled back from a face that could have been carved from pale marble. His suit was perfect, midnight blue that seemed to absorb light. But it was his eyes that froze her in place. Ice blue, ancient, and fixed on her with a strength that made her feel transparent. Miss Chun. His voice rolled through the room like distant thunder. Approach. Mara's feet moved before her brain caught up. She climbed the 3 steps to the platform and stopped, unsure whether to bow, or shake hands, or... You found my son on 5th Street at approximately 11:43 p.m. Not a question. Tell me everything. Every detail. What he looked like, how he was positioned, whether he spoke.
He didn't speak.
He was unconscious, no pulse, but warm. He was just there against the wall. Mara's words tumbled out. His clothes were fancy, old-fashioned. And the ring? He was holding your ring so tight, I had to pry his fingers open. Did you touch the symbol? Just to turn it over and see the number. Why? Lucian's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those ancient eyes. The symbol is magical. It should burn human skin on contact, yet you show no marks. Mara looked at her palm.
Perfectly fine.
I don't understand. Neither do I. Lucian stood, walking down the steps with liquid grace. Up close, she could see he was even taller than she'd thought, at least 6.5 feet. He circled her slowly, studying. Adrian disappeared from the castle grounds 3 hours before you found him. He was taken. The substance in his bloodstream was enchanted silver, gone for 200 years. Someone got it specifically to harm him. Is he okay? The question burst out before Mara could stop it. For the first time, something softened in Lucian's expression, almost too slightly to see. He's recovering. But he's been asking for you, calling your name in his sleep. We've never met before tonight, have we, Miss Chun? Never. Then how does my son know your name? The question hung in the air like a blade. Before Mara could answer, a disturbance came from a side hallway. A small figure in an oversized white shirt broke free from a nurse's hold and ran across the room. Mara. Adrian threw himself at her, small arms wrapping around her waist. Mara caught him without thinking, aware of Lucian watching them both. The boy looked up at her with those impossible amber gold eyes, and tears streamed down his pale cheeks. You came back, he whispered. I was so scared you wouldn't come back. Mara's heart twisted. She knelt down to his level. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. Adrian buried his face in her shoulder, and she felt him shaking. Over his head, she met Lucian's gaze. The vampire king stared at his son clinging to a human stranger, and for just a moment, Mara saw something almost like fear cross his perfect face. Adrian. Lucian's voice was gentler now. You need to rest.
No.
Adrian's grip tightened. She saved me.
She's safe.
I know she's safe. Mara caught the emphasis on that word. No. Not think, not feel. No. Lucian's jaw tightened. Miss Chun, it seems you've become tangled in our world whether either of us wants it. He gestured to the woman who'd brought her. Prepare a room. She stays here tonight under guard for her protection. Wait, I didn't agree to. Someone tried to kill my son with a weapon that shouldn't exist. They failed because of you. That makes you either a witness, those ice blue eyes pinned her in place, or a partner. Until I figure out which, you're not going anywhere. They let her go at dawn. Mara stumbled into her apartment as pale sunlight crept through the blinds, exhausted but too wired to sleep. Lucian had questioned her for 2 more hours. The same questions, different ways, watching her face for any flicker of lying. She told him everything 3 times over until the words felt meaningless. Adrian had finally been talked back to bed, but not before making her promise to come back. The way he looked at her, like she was the only solid thing in a world falling apart, haunted her more than the silver-eyed guards or the underground palace. She showered, changed into her diner uniform, and caught the bus to work. Normal. She needed normal. The morning shift crawled by in a blur of coffee refills and breakfast orders. Mara kept glancing at the windows, half expecting to see those sleek black cars. But there was nothing. Just regular people living regular lives, completely unaware that beneath their city lived an entire world of what? Vampires? The word felt ridiculous even thinking it. But those eyes. The way they moved. The underground palace. Prince Adrian. Table 6 needs a refill, Mara. Her manager's voice snapped her back to reality. She grabbed the coffee pot and made her rounds. Table 6 was taken by a man in a gray hoodie, face hidden, drinking a cup of black coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. He'd been there since she arrived. Mara walked over. "Warm that up for you." He looked up, and her hand froze. His eyes were completely normal, brown, tired, human. But something in the way he watched her made her skin crawl. "No, thank you." His voice was soft, polite. "Actually, I think I'm done." He stood, leaving a $20 bill on the table. Way too much for one coffee. And beneath it a silver coin. Mara's blood turned to ice. She'd seen that metal before, heard Lucien describe it. Enchanted silver, gone for 200 years. By the time she looked up, the man was gone. Her hands shook as she picked up the coin. It was warm, almost hot, with symbols carved around the edge that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. In the center was that same symbol, a crown stabbed through with thorns. She pocketed it quickly, looking around. 2 other customers sat in the diner, both looking at their phones. Through the window, she saw the man in the gray hoodie across the street, standing perfectly still, watching. Then he turned and walked away. Mara's shift ended at 3. She took a different route home, checking over her shoulder every few steps. The streets felt wrong somehow, like stage sets with actors hidden in the wings. At the corner store, she bought instant noodles and noticed the clerk's hands, normal, human. She'd never been so relieved to see someone bite their nails or have a crooked thumb. Her apartment building looked the same as always, worn brick, graffiti on the door, broken intercom. She climbed the 4 flights of stairs, keys already in hand. Inside, she locked the door, threw the deadbolt, and jammed a chair under the handle like she'd seen in movies. Then she pulled out the silver coin. In the light from her window, the symbols seemed clearer. Not words exactly, but meaning flowed into her mind anyway.
Marked.
Witnessed. Found. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Miss Chun." Lucien's voice, though she hadn't given him her number. "Where are you?" "Home." "How did you?" "Stay away from your windows. Lock every door. My people are on their way."
What? Why?
"Because someone left a tracking coin at your workplace 30 minutes ago, and every hunter within 50 miles now knows exactly where to find the human who saved Adrian." His voice was tight, controlled fury. "They're coming for you." The line went dead. Mara's heart pounded. She backed away from the window, coin held in her shaking hand. That's when she noticed the glass fog. Condensation on the inside of her window, even though it wasn't cold. And written in the fog, one word in fancy handwriting. "They know." A crash from the fire escape made her spin around. A person in dark clothing dropped onto her balcony, face hidden by a mask. Then another. And another. Mara ran for her door, fumbling with the chair. Behind her, glass shattered. Cold air rushed in. She got the door open just as a hand grabbed her shoulder. She screamed, twisting away, and threw the silver coin at her attacker's face. The person pulled back with a hiss, smoke rising from where the coin touched skin. Mara didn't wait.
She ran.
The hallway blurred as she sprinted for the stairs. Behind her, footsteps. Too many footsteps. She took the stairs 3 at a time, nearly falling, catching herself on the railing. 2nd floor. 1st floor. The lobby. The building's front door exploded inward. But it wasn't the hunters. Silver eyes gleamed in the darkness as people in black coats poured through, moving with that same hunting grace. The tall one from the alley, the one who'd called Lucian king, pointed at her. Get her out.
Now.
Strong hands lifted her, and then she was moving faster than should be possible. The world became a blur of motion and cold air and the distant sound of fighting behind them. They put her in a waiting car. The door slammed shut. Adrian sat in the back seat, small and pale in his oversized clothes, eyes wide with fear. I told Father you weren't safe, he whispered. I felt them coming. I felt them hunting you. The castle rose from the mountains like a crown of stone and shadow. Mara pressed her face against the car window, watching as they wound up roads that shouldn't exist, through forests too thick and too dark for this close to the city. Adrian sat beside her, silent now, his small hand gripping hers with surprising strength. His amber eyes tracked every shadow, every movement outside. How far are we from the city? Mara asked. The driver, silver eyes reflecting in the rearview mirror, didn't answer. 2 hours, Adrian said quietly. But we've been driving for 20 minutes. The roads, they're not normal roads. Mara decided she didn't want to understand that. The castle gates opened without anyone touching them. Inside, the courtyard was huge, lit by torches that burned with flames too blue to be natural. People moved in the shadows, servants, guards, others she couldn't identify. All of them stopped to watch as she stepped out of the car. A human in their world. This way. A new voice, crisp and female. A woman with silver hair and violet eyes walked over, wearing robes that shimmered like oil on water. The king has called an emergency meeting. You're to attend. Wait, I should change. I'm still wearing. There's no time. The woman's gaze flickered over Mara's diner uniform with barely hidden disgust. The court gathers. They walked through hallways that seemed to shift, doors appearing and disappearing at the edges of her vision. Adrian stayed close, his hand still holding Mara's. Finally, they reached massive double doors carved with scenes of battles and ceremonies. The doors swung open. The room beyond stole Mara's breath. It was circular, ringed with balconies where hundreds of people stood watching. At the center, a round table made of black stone, and around it sat 12 beings who gave off power like heat from a furnace. Lucian stood at the head, still wearing that midnight blue suit, looking like death carved from ice. Bring her forward. Mara's escort nudged her toward the center. Adrian tried to follow, but the silver-haired woman held him back. He struggled, eyes flashing gold.
Adrian.
Stay. Lucian's voice cracked like a whip. The boy froze, tears gathering in his eyes, but he obeyed. Mara stood alone in the circle, surrounded by creatures that wore human faces, but were anything but human. She could feel their eyes on her, hunting and judging. Members of the court, Lucian began, his voice carrying through the room without effort. This is Mara Chun, the human who found Adrian and contacted me directly. The human who touched the royal symbol without burning. The human who was marked by hunters with extinct silver. Murmurs rippled through the balconies. A man at the table stood, broad-shouldered with a scar splitting his face and eyes like hot copper. A human in the castle is forbidden, Lucian. Even for you. General Thorne. Lucian's tone was ice. My son was poisoned with enchanted silver and left to die in a human alley. Someone in our world worked with hunters. Until I know who, this human stays under my protection. She's a witness. Or a spy. A woman with white blonde hair leaned forward, her smile showing too many teeth. How convenient that she found him. How convenient that the symbol didn't burn her. Perhaps she's been marked by the hunters for years, prepared for exactly this moment. Lady Vex raises a good point. Another council member, ancient-looking with paper-thin skin. The girl reeks of human weakness. She could be compromised without even knowing it. Mara's hands clenched into fists. I'm standing right here, and I'm not compromised or prepared or whatever else you want to accuse me of. I found a kid dying in an alley, and I helped him. That's it. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Lady Vex laughed, sharp and cruel. It speaks. How charming. Enough. Lucien's voice dropped to a deadly quiet. Adrian has shown an unusual attachment to this human. When the hunters attacked her apartment, he sensed it across the city through barriers that should have blocked such a connection. He alerted us before our own scouts detected the threat. That caused a stir. Council members exchanged glances. General Thorne's expression darkened. A psychic bond between the heir and a human. That's impossible. Unless... He didn't finish, but the suggestion hung heavy in the air. What? Mara demanded. Unless what? The ancient council member spoke, his voice like dry leaves. Unless you share blood. Unless you're family. But that would mean, he turned to Lucien. Where is Adrian's mother? You never told us what became of her. Lucien's face could have been carved from stone. That's not relevant. It's extremely relevant. Lady Vex stood now, her voice sharp. If this human is somehow connected to Adrian's mother, if there's a bloodline we weren't told about, Adrian's mother is dead. Lucien's words cut through the rising chaos. She died 10 years ago. There is no connection. But Mara saw it. Just for a second, the flicker of doubt in his eyes. She feels like home. Adrian's voice rang out from where he stood with his escort. Like the dreams I have of someone singing to me when I was little. Like safety. His voice cracked. Why won't anyone believe me? The court erupted into arguments. Accusations flew. General Thorne demanded Mara be imprisoned for questioning. Lady Vex suggested executing her to cut whatever unnatural bond existed. Others debated the meaning of a human-vampire connection. Through it all, Lucien stood silent, his ice-blue eyes locked on Mara. Finally, he raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. Mara Chun will remain in the castle as Adrian's attendant, under guard, under observation, under my direct authority. Anyone who harms her answers to me personally. His gaze swept the council. Meeting dismissed. As the court filed out, Mara heard the whispers. The king protects a human. The heir is compromised. This will end in blood. They gave Mara a room in the East Tower, stone walls, a four-poster bed that looked older than her grandparents', and a window that overlooked forests stretching to the horizon. A guard stood outside her door. For her protection, they said. It felt like a prison. She'd been there for 3 hours when Adrian slipped through her door, quiet as a shadow. How did you get past the guard? Mara asked, sitting up on the bed. Adrian smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. Secret passages. The castle has hundreds. My father doesn't know I found most of them. His smile faded. I needed to talk to you alone. Adrian, if they catch you here, I don't care. He climbed onto the bed beside her, suddenly looking every bit the scared 10-year-old he was. They're lying. My father, the court, all of them, about my mother. Mara's heart squeezed. What do you mean?
He says she's dead.
But I dream about her. Not like memory dreams, like she's trying to reach me. She sings this lullaby in a language I don't understand. And she tells me to wait, that she'll find me. His amber eyes glistened. The night I disappeared, I snuck out because I got a message. Someone said they knew where my mother was. They said they'd tell me if I met them by the old theater. Mara's blood ran cold. The theater on 5th Street? Where I found you. Adrian nodded. I waited there for an hour. Then someone came from behind, and I felt something sharp in my neck. Everything went dark. When I woke up for a second, I saw a woman standing over me. She was crying. She said my name and touched my face, and then he frowned, struggling with the memory. Then she put something in my hand. The ring. Your number was already inside it. That doesn't make sense. How would she have my number? I don't know. But right before I passed out again, she whispered, she'll save you. She'll understand. Tell her about the library. The library? Adrian slipped off the bed and held out his hand.
Come on.
I'll show you. The secret passages were narrow and dark, lit by Adrian's phone. They twisted through the castle's bones, behind walls and under floors, until finally coming out in a room that smelled of dust and old paper. The library was massive, 3 stories of shelves spiraling up toward a dome ceiling, painted with constellations. Books in languages Mara couldn't read lined every surface. Over here. Adrian led her to a back corner where a section of books looked newer than the rest. He pulled one out, a leather journal with no title. Inside, the pages were filled with sketches and notes, diagrams of symbols, maps of the city, and photographs. Mara's hands trembled as she flipped through them. The photographs showed a woman with dark hair and warm brown eyes, human-looking, standing beside a younger Lucian. They looked happy. In love. That's her, Adrian whispered. That's my mother. Her name was Elena. Mara turned the page and froze. The next photo showed Elena holding a baby, Adrian presumably, but beside her stood another woman younger, maybe 18. The resemblance was striking. Same dark hair, same warm eyes, same smile. Beneath the photo, a caption in fancy handwriting, Elena and her sister May, 3 months before the attack. Sister, Mara breathed. Her mother's name had been Mei Chun. What? Adrian leaned closer. Mara's mind raced. Her mother had died when she was 5. A car accident, her father said. But there had been inconsistencies, the closed casket, the way her father refused to talk about it, the way they'd moved across the country right after. She flipped to the next page, and her world tilted. A symbol, the same crown stabbed through with thorns, the crest from the ring, from the silver coin. But here it was labeled, Hunter's Mark, House of Chun, status, eliminated. Oh my God, Mara whispered. Adrian grabbed her arm.
What?
What does it mean? Before she could answer, the journal was ripped from her hands. Lucian stood in the doorway, his face a mask of controlled fury. Behind him, General Thorne and 2 guards. Adrian, to your room.
Now.
Father, I can explain.
Now.
Adrian's face crumpled, but he obeyed, shooting Mara one last desperate look before disappearing through a different door. Lucian stepped closer, the journal in his hand. How much did you see? Enough. Mara's voice shook but held steady. Elena was my aunt. My mother was Mei Chun. The House of Chun. That's my family. The hunters who supposedly went extinct. She laughed bitterly. You killed them. You killed my family. Your family tried to assassinate me. Lucian's voice was cold as winter. They poisoned Elena to get to me. She was human, vulnerable. By the time we realized what they'd done, it was too late. Something cracked in his control. She died giving birth to Adrian. Her last words were begging me to spare her sister, your mother.
So I did.
I let May live on the condition that she disappeared, gave up the hunt, lived as a normal human. And the car accident? Lucian's silence was answer enough. You killed her anyway, Mara whispered.
No.
General Thorne stepped forward, his copper eyes gleaming. Rogue hunters did. May had something they wanted, information about a weapon. Enchanted silver. She wouldn't give it up, so they killed her. His smile was sharp. They've been searching for her daughter ever since. And now you've delivered yourself right to us. The pieces clicked together. The tracking coin. The way Adrian sensed her. The connection. She wasn't just a witness. She was bait. And the hunters were already inside. You're going to use me to draw them out. Mara's voice was flat, emotionless. Shock had given way to cold clarity. Lucian studied her with those ice-blue eyes. Yes. At least he was honest. They want whatever your mother hid, General Thorne added, circling her like a predator. Information about how to make enchanted silver. The last sample was used on Adrian, a test. If they can make more, they can kill every vampire in this castle. So you'll dangle me in front of them, like a worm on a hook. We'll protect you, Lucian said. But they need to believe you're vulnerable. Alone. I am alone. Mara's laugh was bitter. I have been since I was 5. Something flickered across Lucian's face. Regret?
Sympathy?
It was gone too quickly to tell.
There's another coin, Mara said suddenly.
The man at the diner left one. I threw it at the hunter in my apartment. It burned him. That means they're already making more silver. Your window is closing. Lucien and Thorn exchanged glances. Where's the coin now? Thorn demanded. My apartment. Unless your people grabbed it. Lucien pulled out his phone, speaking quick commands in a language Mara didn't recognize. He listened, then cursed softly. The coin is gone. Someone took it during the cleanup. Inside job, Thorn growled. Someone in the castle is feeding them information, which means the trap needs to be sprung now. Tonight. Lucien turned to Mara. Can you retrace your steps? Go back to where you first met the man in the diner? You want me to walk around the city as bait? With an elite guard shadowing you. They'll be invisible, but they'll be close. Lucien stepped closer, and despite everything, Mara felt the weight of his presence. Ancient, powerful, dangerous. I won't let them take you. But I need to know who in my court is betraying us. Mara thought of Adrian, of the fear in his eyes, of her mother, her Aunt Elena, all the secrets and lies.
Fine.
But I have one condition. Lucien raised an eyebrow. When this is over, you tell me everything. No more secrets. I want to know what my mother was protecting. I want to know why Elena died. All of it. A long pause. Then agreed. 2 hours later, Mara walked through downtown in the same clothes she'd worn that morning. The diner uniform, now rumpled and stained. She looked exactly like what she was, exhausted, alone, vulnerable. The evening crowd flowed around her, normal people heading to dinner, to bars, to ordinary lives. None of them knew that death walked among them, wearing human faces. Mara's earpiece crackled. Left side. 20 meters. Gray jacket. Thorn's voice. She glanced casually. A man in a gray jacket, not the same one from the diner, but similar. He was watching her reflection in a shop window. I see him. Keep walking. We're tracking 3 others. They're coordinating. Her heart hammered, but she kept her pace steady. At the corner, she turned toward the warehouse district. Abandoned buildings, fewer cameras, exactly where someone would go if they were trying to disappear. The streets grew emptier. Streetlights flickered. Mara. A new voice in her ear, Lucien. 2 more behind you. They're closing in. When I give the signal, drop to the ground. What signal? A person stepped out from an alley ahead. The man from the diner, gray hoodie pushed back. His face was ordinary, forgettable, except for his eyes, filled with hate. Mara Chun, daughter of Mei Chun, of the House of Chun. His voice carried in the empty street. You have something that belongs to us. I don't know what you're talking about. Your mother stole our family's research, the formula for enchanted silver. She hid it before we could get it back. He moved closer. Tell us where and we'll make your death quick. And if I don't know? His smile was cold. Then we'll make it slow. For more people came out of the shadows. They formed a circle around her, closing in.
Now.
Lucien's voice cracked in her ear. Mara dropped. The world exploded into motion. Vampires came down from rooftops, impossibly fast, impossibly graceful. Thorn hit the ground like a meteor, his fist connecting with the diner man's face. Bones cracked. Blood sprayed. But the hunters were ready. They pulled out weapons, crossbows loaded with bolts that gleamed silver. One fired. A vampire guard screamed. The bolt stuck in his shoulder, smoke rising from burning flesh. Mara scrambled backward as the fight erupted around her. Vampires moved like liquid death, but the hunters had silver. Every hit on a vampire sizzled and burned. The diner man recovered, pulling out a knife, silver blade, fancy handle. He lunged, not at the vampires, but at Mara. She rolled. His knife sparked against pavement. He came again, faster than any human should move. A blur of midnight blue. Lucien appeared between them, catching the knife barehanded. His palms smoked, burned, but his grip didn't waver. He twisted, and the hunter's wrist snapped with a sound like breaking branches. The man screamed. Lucien's other hand shot out, fingers wrapping around his throat. Who sent you? Who in my court is your contact? The hunter's eyes bulged. Then he smiled through the pain. You'll never know, Your Majesty. He bit down. Mara heard the crunch. Poison. The hunter convulsed once, twice, then went still in Lucien's grasp. Around them, the other hunters were falling. Thorn had 2 pinned, but they'd also taken their own lives. Only one remained, a woman, young, terrified. Lucien dropped the dead hunter and turned to her. Talk. The woman's eyes darted desperately. The factory. Pier 19.
There's more, an army.
They're making weapons. And someone from a castle is coming tonight with the... An arrow punched through her chest from behind. Silver-tipped. Fired from the darkness. She collapsed. Lucien spun, searching the rooftops. Fall back. It's an ambush. But Mara's blood had gone cold for a different reason. The air. Adrian, she breathed. They're going after Adrian. The castle was chaos when they arrived. Alarms screamed through the halls, a sound like dying animals that made Mara's teeth ache. Vampires ran in every direction, some armed, others hurrying servants and younger vampires towards safe rooms. Where's Adrian? Lucien's voice cut through the noise. A guard skidded to a halt. East Tower, my lord. Locked in his rooms as per protocol. Lucien was already running. Mara sprinted after him, Thorn and his soldiers flanking them. They took stairs 3 at a time, moving so fast Mara's legs burned trying to keep up. The door to Adrian's room hung open, splintered. Inside, furniture was overturned, curtains shredded, and on the floor 2 guards lay unconscious. Not dead, but broken. Adrian was gone.
No.
The word tore from Lucien, raw and inhuman. No, no, no. Thorn gripped his shoulder. Focus. Where would they take him? A voice echoed from the doorway. To the courtyard, where everyone can watch. They turned. Lady Vex stood there, her white blonde hair perfect, her smile sharp. But her hands were empty, her posture relaxed. You. Thorn's hand went to his weapon. Not me, General. Though I wish I could take credit for such a bold move. She stepped aside, gesturing down the hall. General Cassis sends his regards. He's waiting in the courtyard with the boy. Says if the king wants him back, he should come collect him. Lucien moved like lightning, hand around Vex's throat, slamming her against the wall. Where is my son? Didn't you hear? The courtyard. Vex's smile never wavered, even as her feet left the floor. He's challenging your rule, Lucien.
Calling you weak.
Compromised by humans. Says the air is tainted by Chun bloodline and must be cleansed. Cassis has been loyal for 2 centuries. Loyal to the throne, not to you. Vex's eyes gleamed. The court has been whispering for years about Elena. About how you let her family live. About how you've grown soft. Her gaze slid to Mara. And then you bring a human into the castle, the niece of the woman who poisoned your mate. The court sees weakness, Lucien. And Cassis is offering them strength. Lucien dropped her. She landed gracefully, straightening her dress. Why tell us this? Mara demanded. If you support him, I support power. And right now, I'm curious to see who is more. Vex's smile turned predatory. Make it entertaining at least. The courtyard was packed. Every vampire in the castle stood in a massive circle, tier upon tier, filling balconies and windows. Torches burned with that strange blue flame, casting everything in an otherworldly glow. In the center stood General Cassis. He was massive, easily 7 feet tall, broad as a wall, with a scar splitting his face that Mara now realized marked him. His copper eyes burned as he held Adrian in front of him, one hand clamped on the boy's shoulder. Adrian's face was tear-streaked, his eyes wide with terror, but he stood straight, defiant. Lucien. Cassis's voice boomed across the courtyard. You've allowed human corruption into our halls. This boy, your heir, carries tainted blood. Chun blood. Hunter blood. Murmurs rippled through the assembled vampires. Lucien descended the stairs slowly, each step measured. Mara followed, Thorn beside her. The crowd parted like water. Let him go, Cassis. Lucien's voice was deadly quiet. This is treason. This is survival. Cassis shook Adrian slightly. The boy winced. Your human mate died from her family's poison. Now you protect another Chun. Now you let this girl walk our halls, sleep in our tower, influence your son. He looked around at the crowd. The king has lost his way. He chooses humans over vampires. Sentiment over strength. My father is stronger than you'll ever be. Adrian's voice cracked with emotion. You're just afraid. Cassius's hand tightened. Adrian cried out. Mara felt Lucien tense beside her, saw his control fraying. One wrong move, and this would become a bloodbath. Let me talk to him, she whispered. You can't. He wants to prove you're weak because of me. So let me prove him wrong. Before Lucien could stop her, Mara stepped forward. The crowd's attention shifted. Hundreds of predatory eyes fixed on her. She felt like a rabbit in a den of wolves. General Cassius. Her voice shook but carried. You're right. I'm human. I'm weak. I have no powers, no strength, no immortality. She took another step. But I saved Adrian when none of you could find him. I touched the royal symbol without burning. And I figured out in 3 days what your intelligence network missed, that hunters were inside your walls. Cassius's eyes narrowed. Brave words for prey. My mother died protecting a secret from hunters. My aunt died giving life to that boy you're holding. Mara's voice grew stronger. The Chun family didn't poison Elena. Rogue hunters did, trying to get to Lucien through her. My mother refused to help them, so they killed her too. And now they want to kill Adrian to destabilize the throne. Lies. Cass has spat. Then, why did you meet with them? The voice came from above. Every head turned. On a high balcony stood the ancient council member, holding a document. I had our archives searched. General Cass has made 3 unauthorized trips to the city in the past month. Each time, hunters attacked shortly after. He let the paper drift down. You're not saving us from humans, Cassius. You're selling us to them. The crowd erupted. Vampires surged forward. Cassius's face twisted with rage. His hand moved to Adrian's throat. Then the boy dies. A silver blade erupted from his chest. Adrian had pulled a knife from Cassius's own belt and driven it upward with strength number 10-year-old should possess. The enchanted silver burned, and Cassius screamed, releasing the boy. Adrian stumbled away. Lucien was there instantly, pulling his son behind him. Cassius fell to his knees, smoke rising from the wound. He looked up at Lucien with hate-filled eyes. This isn't over. Yes, Lucien said softly. It is. He moved faster than sight. When he stopped, Cassius's head rolled across the courtyard stones. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. Then Lucien turned to the assembled court, his voice carrying to every corner. Let it be known, Mara Chun is under royal protection. Any who harm her, threaten her, or question her place here will answer to me personally. His ice-blue eyes swept the crowd. And, to be clear, that is not a request. That is law. He placed one hand on Adrian's shoulder. The other he extended toward Mara. She took it. Together, they walked through the silent crowd back toward the castle. Behind them, Cassius's body turned to ash in the torchlight. 3 days later, Mara stood on the castle balcony, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold and crimson. Her diner uniform was gone, replaced by clothes that actually fit, simple, comfortable, but made from fabric that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Her apartment was gone too. The hunters had burned it the night of the ambush, destroying any evidence her mother might have hidden there. Everything Mara owned in the world now fit in a single bag. She should have felt lost. Instead, she felt strangely free. You're up early. Adrian's voice came from behind her.
She turned.
He looked better, color in his cheeks, gold bright in his eyes. The terror of 3 nights ago had faded, though she caught him having nightmares sometimes, crying out for his mother. Couldn't sleep, Mara admitted. Too much thinking. Adrian joined her at the railing. For a while, they just watched the sunrise together. Father wants to talk to you today, Adrian said finally. About your choice.
The choice. Stay or go.
Remember or forget. Lucien had offered her a clean exit yesterday, a memory wipe, a new identity, money to start over anywhere in the world. She'd be safe, protected, free from the vampire world forever.
Or she could stay.
Become Adrian's guardian, his teacher, his bridge to the human world he'd never truly known. Live in the castle, surrounded by creatures who'd never fully trust her, bound to a family marked by tragedy. "What do you want me to do?" Mara asked softly. Adrian's hand found hers. "I want you to stay. But that's selfish. You have your own life, your own. I have nothing." The words weren't bitter, just honest. No family, a job that barely paid rent, an apartment full of secondhand furniture and frozen dinners. She squeezed his hand. "But here I have you. I have purpose. I have something that matters." Adrian's eyes shimmered. "You really mean that?" "Yeah, kid. I really do." He threw his arms around her waist, burying his face in her side. Mara held him, this strange vampire prince who somehow felt more like family than anyone had in 15 years. "Though I should probably learn how to fight," she added, "if I'm going to survive here." Adrian laughed, the sound bright and clear. "Thorn already volunteered to train you. He says anyone who throws enchanted silver at a hunter's face has potential." "That's terrifying and oddly sweet, Miss Chun." Lucien's voice made them both turn. He stood in the doorway, immaculate as always in a dark suit, but something in his expression was softer than she'd seen before. "May I speak with you? Alone." Adrian reluctantly let go, shooting his father a warning look before disappearing inside. Lucien joined her at the railing, and for a long moment, they stood in silence. "I owe you an apology," he said finally. "Several, actually. For using you as bait. For not telling you about your family. For the years your mother spent in hiding because of my world." "She made her choice," Mara said. "To protect whatever secret she had. To protect me." The formula was hidden in a lullaby. Lucien's voice was quiet, the one Elena used to sing to Adrian. "Your mother encoded the enchanted silver formula into the melody and lyrics, a language only the Chun family understood. That's why the hunters wanted Adrian. They thought if they tortured him enough, he'd remember the song completely." Mara's breath caught. "That's why he dreams of his mother singing."
"Yes."
"The memory is locked in his mind, unreachable even to him. Your mother ensured the secret died with her." Lucien's ice-blue eyes met hers. "But Adrian connects to you because you carry her blood. You're the closest thing he has to his mother. To Elena. Is that why you're letting me stay? Because I'm useful?"
"No."
The answer was immediate, firm. "I'm letting you stay because my son needs you. Because you've proven yourself 10 times over. And because—" He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. "Because Elena would have liked you. You have her courage, her kindness." Mara felt tears prick her eyes. "I wish I'd known her. Known my mother as she really was. I can tell you stories. When you're ready." Lucien's hand rested on the railing near hers, not touching, but close. "This world is dangerous, Mara. There will be more threats, more politics, more nights where death comes calling. The hunters won't stop. The court will test you. And Adrian," his voice softened, "he'll need you more than ever as he grows into his power." "I know." Mara straightened her shoulders. "I'm ready." A ghost of a smile touched Lucien's lips. "Then welcome to the family, Mara-chan. Official guardian to the air. Bridge between worlds. And apparently the only human brave or foolish enough to throw silver at armed hunters." "Definitely foolish," Mara agreed. Behind them, Adrian appeared in the doorway again, unable to contain his excitement. "So you're staying? Really staying?" Mara turned, opening her arms. Adrian launched himself at her, and she caught him, spinning once before setting him down. "Really staying." The morning sun crested the mountains fully, bathing the three of them in golden light. Below, the castle was waking, servants moving through halls, guards changing shifts, the ancient world of vampires continuing as it had for centuries. But something had changed. A human stood in the heart of it now, bound by choice and blood to a lonely prince and his grief-stricken father. Mara looked out at the horizon where the forest met the sky, where darkness and light touched. Somewhere out there, hunters plotted, enemies schemed, secrets waited to be uncovered. But here, on this balcony, she'd found something she'd been searching for since she was 5 years old. A place to belong, a reason to fight, a family worth saving. And as Adrian chattered excitedly about all the things he wanted to show her, and Lucien watched them both with something almost like hope in his ancient eyes, Mara smiled. Her story was just beginning.